Hello, Finimizers. Welcome to another Finimize live event. My name is Stefan. I'm an analyst here at Finimize, and I'm hosting today's event about exploring the disruption in the investment industry. So we're going to talk a lot about fintech with our partner, CFA Institute. So first, let me very quickly go through some basic housekeeping rules. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, tell us where you're tuning in from, and remember to switch to all attendees so everyone can see your messages. In terms of format, this is going to be a 15-minute conversation followed by 15-minute audience Q&A. So please make sure you use the Q&A box to ask a question, not the chat box, the Q&A box. And if you see a question that you like, you can upvote it so it moves to the top. And that way we can get through the most upvoted questions first. Okay, so let's kick this off. Our event partner for today is CFA Institute. They are the global association of investment professionals that sets the standard for professional excellence and credentials. They are the champions of ethical behavior in investment markets and a respected source of knowledge in the global financial community. There are more than 190,000 CFA charter holders worldwide in 160 markets. I'm actually a CFA charter holder, and honestly, I would definitely recommend anyone who's considering a career in the industry to do one of their different certifications. Also, don't forget, CFA Institute has crafted the Investment Foundation Certificate, which is the perfect course to help you learn the language of investing and accelerate your career in finance. We have a special bundle deal available today, so we'll drop a link in the chat box to explain more. Make sure to check it out because it's a really interesting opportunity. Okay, so today I'm joined for the third time by Robert Stammers, and that's the final time, unfortunately, for this mini series of events with the CFA Institute. So Bob, can say it's been too long. I think we've chatted last time. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me back. It's been a pleasure.
Glad to have you here. Okay, so let's dive in. So what's fintech first? And how does it fit into the wider investment industry?
So fintech refers to the innovation in finance. Okay, it's about, for different organizations, it's different things. And it's also not only refers to the innovation in finance, but also refers to the companies that are developing those innovations, right? So fintech companies as opposed to fintech applications or fintech solutions. And it's really about making the lives of consumers and businesses better, right? For investors, it's really about providing greater access to the financial ecosystem, better engagement, more inclusion, making it more equitable for savers and investors. And I mean, it moves really quickly. I mean, if you think about it, when I was younger, one of the big, and people probably don't even think about this, but one of the big fintech applications was the ATM. You think the ATM is being, it's just everyone is used to it. But the days before, you used to have to go into the bank and sit in the bank in line for a long time to get your money. ATMs came and made life easier, right? Now you don't even need cash anymore. I mean, we've become basically turned into a cashless society with, the Samsung or the Google wallets. So it's just about giving people easier ways to make transactions, make those transactions more secure. For businesses, it's a little bit different. For businesses, it's about automating functions and reducing costs. So how do I leverage my employees and my resource base with the applications and solutions available, right? So I'll give you another example. When I started out, I used to have, one of my claims to fame was to be able to build these really complex real estate valuation models in Excel. Those aren't even done anymore. They're all done by applications and done by programs. So that's basically, and companies are continuing to build these things so that they can reduce costs. Unfortunately, it also, in some cases, it puts a cap on the amount of professionals they need, but they can do more with the professionals and resources they have. Another one is centered around big data. And big data is, how do we use all the data that's available, not only financial data, but macroeconomic data, government data, traffic, consumer data, and look for patterns that may not be obvious, right? How do we find something that'll give us an edge in investing by learning what's happening and how that data interacts with each other? And then finally, there's, AI and machine learning, which is about doing very much, building programs that can learn and can make decisions about this data or other investments that, wouldn't be able to be done by a human. So.
And so, if we focus really, so I think, those applications are kind of applicable to lots of different areas. Now, if we just narrow it down to, specifically investment tools in a way, what sort of, fintech products and solutions you think are particularly interesting for, to help us potentially become better investors?
Yeah, I think for the investor or the retail investor, once again, it's really about increasing knowledge, getting advice, getting access, experience, and confidence in investing. So we've already talked a little bit about knowledge and advice, but there's lots of platforms like Finimize, which provides knowledge. And so there's more and more platforms where people can get research and macroeconomic data that they may have only been in the realm of the institutions before, that now retail investors can get a hold of. There's also product access. I think, Stefan, you did an article recently in Finimize about a company that was giving people access to private real estate, residential real estate, which, for an investor, buying a house to rent is a huge investment, and it's not diversified. So now people have found a way to give you that access to get a more consistent cash flow, a diversified cash flow that people didn't have before. So then, of course, there's advice, right? Robo-advisors. There's lots of different financial engines that are available for people to, construct their portfolios and allocate their assets that weren't available before. And even though there's a cost to that, right, it's really good for people to, at least new investors, to interact with those things, because it starts to give you the experience and confidence that you need to manage your own portfolio if you want to do that in the future. So once again, it's, and then there's, all of this decentralized finance as well, where you're getting the ability to do things without having to go through these large intermediaries. So an example might be peer-to-peer lending, right? Where portfolio lenders are lending out to consumers directly, as opposed to someone having to go to a mortgage company or an asset company or something like that in order to get it. So once again, it's about, innovating the ability to get knowledge, to get research, to get access to new products, and to build that experience and confidence that you need to be a good investor.
Yeah, I think the way it democratizes finance and investing, especially to kind of retail investors, is really amazing. If you think back even 5-10 years, the sort of investment universe that was available to us compared to today, where you can invest in real estate, as you said earlier, private markets, art, pretty much anything today. Fintech has really been massive positive force, I think, to the industry. Now, of course, we've touched on the pros and what fintech has brought, but what are maybe the cons of fintech technologies for consumers and investors? What do our Finimizers need to be a little bit wary of?
Well, I think one of the issues with fintech is that it's given people so much access and made transactions so easy that people need to be much more disciplined than they've ever been in the past. So I made the example before about having the Google or the Samsung wallet. You can pay things with your phone, right? So you don't even have your wallet. You can still go out and buy things. And not only you're online, not only are you purchasing something, but all of a sudden there's a company saying, well, would you like to borrow that money and spread it out over for certain amount of payments for either a nominal fee or an interest rate, or maybe for free for a certain amount of time. But then again, as you know, if you don't pay it, then you start getting huge interest rates. So It can be a trap for some people if they're not really disciplined, and it's made it so that people have to be very, 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 very thoughtful about their purchases and how much money they have, and if they're overspending, because it'd be very, very easy to overspend because access is just so easy, right? But on the counter to that is it's never been easier to be more disciplined. There's never been more applications to help you budget, to save, to invest. So if you take advantage of that side of fintech, it'll help you, counteract some of the cons that are present as well.
Although I'm still waiting for the application that will tell us not to sell at the worst possible time. Hopefully we'll see that soon. Okay, so now
the problem if that happens, then no one will make any money, right?
Exactly. So, especially as now, okay, actually, for if we look at beginners investors now, and maybe they're not that familiar with kind of the different fintech application technologies, what are the types of application that you think beginner investors should really look at? Any particular examples?
Well, I think we covered some of them already, right? I think as a beginner investor, you really want to get as much knowledge and advice as you can. You really need to be building that up. But and on the confidence side, it's really about, if you don't have a lot of money, a robo-advisor or someone like that is great, because you can build a diversified portfolio for like $500, right? Globally diversified portfolio, which you could never do in the past. And that interaction will help you to learn, the other trends that are, and research that's available is also very, very good. There's platforms that can provide you macroeconomic information, and not only the macroeconomic information, but how that's likely to affect the market, so that you can make an informed decision about your portfolio and to buy and sell. So in terms of other trends, though, we talked a little bit about DeFi. I mean, that's going to continue significantly. Their access for the underbanked, right, for people in places around the world that don't have access to banking, that's going to start to increase, where not only are they going to have access to banking, but access to other saving and investing products that they've never had before. Then the other piece that we alluded to is the ability to get products that were always in the arena of the high net worth or ultra high net worth investor, like private equity and debt, right? So it give you a ways to counteract some of those macroeconomic trends by changing your portfolio. But at the same time, when we were talking about, the double-edged sword, the other thing there, though, it becomes much more complex as well, and it really makes investors have to understand a lot more products if they want to use them, right? Fintech being an example, fintech in itself, fintech companies and investing in fintech is very difficult, simply because it's very hard to see where the next disruptive influence is going to be. I mean, if you think about taxi drivers that were buying a $1 million taxi medallion just before Uber came in, they didn't see it, right? And so when you're investing in fintech companies, you need to be even more, not only have you do the fundamental analysis of the company and make sure that the company is strong, but you really need to start thinking a little bit more about what's possibly on the horizon that can provide more, maybe providing more risk than I think I'm taking, right? And so you'll see a lot more of this embedded finance that we were just talking about, where you've got lenders available if you need to purchase something. You'll see a lot more of the decentralized finance. You'll see more of the software as a service, where financial applications will be on the cloud, so that you don't necessarily have to have them on your computer, and you can just access them when you need them. More like the super applications, where you have one application that provides you everything you possibly could need, from saving and budgeting to investing research. And then, of course, we talked a little bit about AI and machine learning, which is necessarily impacting retail investors directly, but will be, because all the new applications and things will be built on, this artificial intelligence and how it can use data to provide more insights into investments and research.
Thank you so much, Robert. So I think now we'll have to move to the questions. So please write your questions in the Q&A box, and make sure to upvote for the questions you want to see answered first. Okay, so here the first question is, how would AI impact the role of CFAs in the investment industry? Would the demand and role of CFAs decrease?
Well, there's always going to be someone who's going to need to manage those programs. So if you notice, one of the big trends is machine learning, data science. So I have a feeling that it's not going to be that you're not going to need CFAs, but over time, the direction and the focus of some of the things that CFAs learn will be a little bit different. And I think it's going to be more and more on this area, because that's where the market's moving, right? And CFA Institute, having worked there, I know that they're constantly looking at their exam and what's happening in the marketplace and adjusting their exam so that it's most valuable to the person that's taking it, right? And so eventually, some of the things that we traditionally you may have learned years and years ago will start to get phased out, and more of this data science, machine learning, big data applications will become much more of a focus. So I don't think it's going to impact CFAs that much, but I think it's what they're going to learn is going to be impacted quite a bit.
So the next question, what are some of the ways of getting skills, experience relevant to the fintech industry? Do you recommend being in traditional finance before fintech, or can anyone go into this space?
Let me see if I understand the question. Was it investing in the space or working in the space?
Working in the space.
Yeah, well, I think I don't see that it's necessarily an impediment going into fintech if you don't have finance experience, although I have to admit the finance experience is certainly going to make you a much more valuable person within an organization like that, because of your knowledge of the ecosystem and the knowledge of what they're doing. Now, do you need to have a CFA? Maybe not. Maybe, like CFA has the investment fundamentals course, which is really about providing non-decision makers, so people that aren't making decisions about money, to understand the ecosystem better and how it works. That certainly would be valuable to moving into a fintech company as well. But then again, fintech, there's the solutions, but there's also the business around it too. So there's plenty of places that people can plug into fintech depending on what your interests are.
I'm seeing a couple of questions in the chat box. Please, if you can just write them in the questions and answer box, not in the chat box, so I can see them, and then we can go through them. So the next question is, how fintech will change treasury investment and risk management industry, and what kind of basic technical skill is required for a financial professional?
Well, I think, an undergraduate business degree in finance, I mean, it's also more than the knowledge, it's more also the interest, right? And because it's going to be heavily research, it's going to be heavily analytics. Like I said before, big data, a lot of financial professionals now are learning Python, which is a programming language, which is extremely valuable. So if those things are of interest to you, then those are the fundamental things that you might be looking at in order to move forward in those types of organizations.
Is data science the same as fintech? Does the data science certificate from CFA covers the fintech aspect as well?
Well, data science is just one aspect of fintech. So as I mentioned before, fintech is really about innovations in finance. And so it's really a broad area, right? And as I said, It's different things for investors, different things for companies, it's different things for the finance ecosystem. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what more to say.
No, I think that's already a very fair answer, complete answer. Any thoughts on open/embedded finance?
The only thought I have is that it'll continue. I mean, like I said before, the companies are trying to provide products, solutions at the touch point of the customer. So you'll continue to see that everywhere you go, right? I mean, if I can, you came to me for a product and I can provide you another product or provide you another solution, I'm going to, as a company, I'm going to try to do that. And that's why I was saying, that's why I think we're going to see the advent of those super applications after a while, where it's one-stop shopping, where you get everything you could possibly need, right? And that's why I also mentioned that the discipline factor is so important, because that's going to continue the access, the facilitation, and the increased security around fintech innovations is going to make it so that you have to really be disciplined about what products that you take available, because it would be very, very easy to just take advantage of everything. But if you're not disciplined, it'll end up hurting you in the long run.
Can you elaborate on the various ways fintech has improved accessibility to financial markets for individuals with limited resources? Fantastic question.
Yeah, it's a good question. We mentioned a little bit. You're able, like I said, the robo-advisors, where now you can invest with a lot less, right? The facilitation on being able to purchase things with little money. I mean, there's always some solutions on how do you manage that purchase or that expense so that it makes sense for your financial situation, right? So you don't have that much money. There's also, I've seen some places that are even allowing people to borrow what would be on margin for brokers, but basically you're doing a personal loan and you can invest with it, right? Because it's just a personal loan, but it's being offered as part of an investment opportunity, right?
Now, another AI question, how fintech is going to adapt with AI? I think we've already covered, but do you have anything else to add?
The only thing I'd say is the trend is that it's going to be a greater integration between the two, right? As AI continues to innovate, there's going to be a greater marriage between that, machine learning, and big data, where instead of, one of the issues with machine learning right now is most of the application programs are kind of a black box. You don't know what's in them, right? Someone's programmed it. And even though the program doesn't have a bias, the programmers do, right? And you don't know what they necessarily are. So the more that AI is integrated, hopefully they'll start to take some of the bias out, because it's actually AI that's making the decisions and learning, as opposed to being directed by the program and thus the programmer. And I think that's a trend that you're seeing in all industries, not just in finance, where AI is taking on more and more of the decision-making responsibilities as it becomes smarter and smarter.
Recently, NFTs lost all their charm. Do you think DLT blockchain will make any more sense?
Well, I don't know about crypto. I know crypto, people have their own ideas about the value of crypto. So I don't, I'm not really sure where crypto is going to go, but blockchain is going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to be used. They're doing all sorts of things with blockchain, even outside of finance. I mean, they're doing inventory management with blockchain. They're doing tracking trades. They're doing contracts, peer-to-peer contracts. taking out the intermediaries, making it much more quicker, more secure. So blockchain has a huge future, and it has a huge future in a variety of industries. And I think that'll continue to grow, and it'll continue to, provide more and more decentralized finance where people are accessing other people in order to find investment or saving opportunities.
Is there anywhere you'd recommend learning about machine learning, AI, when it comes to investing? How can we get ahead of this trend and gain some skills?
Well, somebody already mentioned there's a CFA has a certificate in data science. I mean, that's one place to look. I mean, CFA Institute certainly isn't the only place. I would look at, because of where it is in the period right now, I think there's places where you can learn the fundamentals, and you just need to go out and look for where they are and learn as much as you can. I mean, they're out there. That'll give you, like all of these things, it gives you the fundamentals that you can use as a basis to learn more as you get involved in a company that's actually doing the work.
Yes, and today you have a lot of resources that can also help you, like GitHub Copilot, etc. And I get that question a lot from students. So maybe I'll just also give my 2 cents. I think the best way to learn really about AI and apply it to investing is to do a very small little project. And it's only by applying what you learn. So don't just like read the theory in the book, but try to code a very simple strategy using, for example, a specific algorithm and or a specific statistical technique, and just try to apply it to real world data, because this is really, really the best way you will learn. Also, when the technology basically fails and where it can blindside you, etc. So start super small, very simple project, and basically build it from there.
Yeah, I'd add one other thing is there's lots of research on machine learning. I was just working with a young man that's actually using it to come up with predictions for the S&P 500 and other asset classes. And so there's places like portfolio management research, other research bodies that have lots of things on machine learning. And you can learn how it's being applied right now, at least theoretically applied and then practically applied. And then it'll give you a lot more insight into the things that you might be interested in, because that is also a very wide discipline, and you need to kind of understand where you want to fit in within that.
Yeah, 100%. Now, last question. With increasing use of DeFi, there is also an increase in fraudulent transactions. So should there be some sort of regulation on such transactions as well? If yes, then how can it be achieved?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. When you say it's a great question, because I'm not sure how to answer it. I know the regulators would like to regulate it. It's just very hard to do because it's decentralized, right? One of the big innovations in DeFi is going to be how to create better security around those transactions, right? And that's what they're working on. I mean, there's lots of companies and people working on how do we do that. And blockchain in some cases is providing that transparency, but it's not everything works on blockchain. So yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure I have a great answer for it, but I do believe it in some cases needs to be regulated. But the problem is how, the regulators not even sure how to regulate it.
That was a perfectly timed reply, Rob. Thank you very much. I'm afraid that's actually all the time we have for today. But thank you so much for joining us once again. It's been really, really a pleasure to have you here for these 3 mini-series with CFA Institute. Really enjoyed hosting them with you. And thank you, of course, to everyone who was joined today. Hopefully you found the session very insightful. Remember that you can fill out the feedback form that should pop up on your screens when this ends. And yeah, hopefully we will see you once again very soon. Rob, same. Hopefully we'll see you soon again. And thanks everyone, and have a great day or evening depending on where you are.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.